Hey everybody, it's Barb Shafran here from Shafran Herbals. I am an herbal esthetician, a certified herbalist, Pennsylvania state licensed esthetician. I am also a lash artist. I do lash extensions, lash lifts and tints, and I'm a brow artist. I do henna brows and of course just waxing and other kinds of tinting, and that is what led me to want to learn microblading and microshading, because I want to offer a more permanent solution for brows for my aesthetics clients. What I'm going to tell you in this video is what I wish people would have told me about microblading and microshading and permanent makeup for brows before I started taking these classes and getting involved. I love it, don't get me wrong. But there's so much scamming going on. So many states have no regulation. So many greedy people. So many people who can't teach. They might be phenomenal brow artists, but they're not educators. They didn't learn how to teach, which, by the way, is a skill. Just like learning microblading is a skill. So I just want you to listen to what I have to say as a warning, to set realistic expectations for yourself as you go into this permanent makeup industry. Important thing to know to set your expectation properly. Number one, you will not be able to take a 2-day class, do one person model for that class, and then go out and start working on people. Like, that is not going to happen. The class I took, being an absolute beginner, they said I could take a 2-day class, do one person, then do 10 models all by myself to get my certificate of completion after I paid them $3,800. So I couldn't do it. I thought I could do it, because why would you charge me $3,800 to take your class, set the expectation for me to do 10 people after your class, and then I wouldn't be able to do it. So it's really, really important that you research your classes, that you find a class that has more than 2 days of classroom instruction, that has probably at least 5 hands-on models done under supervision. Trust me, it's horrifically scary to be having a knife cutting into someone's face all by yourself in your basement. And that's what you will be expected to do if you take a class that's not done properly. And a proper class is going to have probably 5 or 6 days of in-class instruction and at least 5 supervised models. Okay? I'm not so sure it's a good idea to do what I did and take a class where you pay them $3,800 and then have to do 10 people all by yourself to get that piece of paper. And if you don't do the 10 models, you basically throw $3,800 away, because you have nothing for your $3,800 unless you do the 10 people. So point number one, research your classes. Find something that is in person, with as many days training as possible, with as many live models that you do under supervision, and try to find something that you get your certification when you leave, that you don't have to be out there doing 10 people all by yourself in your basement in order to get a piece of paper. Because chances are you probably will mess somebody up, and then you won't finish your certification because you'll think you can't do it, when in reality you've just had a crappy training. Important thing number 2, if you're going to consider a career in permanent makeup, again, I'm specifically addressing brows, but it would apply to lips and liner too. Make sure you prepare for your course once you've found a good one. If there's an online portion, do the online portion. Watch as many videos on YouTube as possible. Look for books even on Amazon. Look for practice books. Look for practice latex. Look for cheap Amazon kits that you can just practice holding the pen yourself and getting a feel for what you're going to be doing. And I'm 52 years old, went to my first microblading class without having done the online course because our instructor didn't tell us to. So I had zero preparation, and I'm an absolute novice. I did not even know how to put the blade in the handle. And they're teaching us to do these complicated patterns, and I've never even done one stroke. So be careful as well, I guess, that your class is for an absolute beginner, but even though it's an absolute beginner, you make sure you prepare yourself before you go into that class by having watched YouTube videos, by having taken the online portion and done the online portion, reading as much as possible. And one more thing that I think is crucial, especially if you are like a young millennial who's more into Instagram than you are Facebook, join Facebook microblading beginner groups. You will learn so much even before you take a class, or maybe you'll find your place, your class that way. I have learned so much by just being in groups. Like, start watching things that absolute beginners need to watch, because the chances are in your class, even if they say it's for absolute beginners, they're not going to teach you how to put the blade in the handle. They're going to assume you already know how. So, number 2, make sure you prepare for your course properly once you've selected it. Thing you need to know, number 3, if you're considering a career in permanent makeup, especially brows, but would be applicable for lips and liner too. Make sure you actually practice with pencil before you even hold a microblade to see if you even like drawing the strokes. I will put in my comments here in the video resources on Amazon that I found very helpful as a teacher to really give you some basic skills before you even hold a microblading pen. I am a teacher with a master's degree, 30 years experience. I've taught Spanish, I've taught English, I've taught computer applications, I've taught psychology, and I've taught business management. Most importantly, in my training, when I was studying for my master's degree, you learn how to teach a skill. Specifically, I learned how to teach Spanish, and that's applicable to any skill, all right? Whether it's dancing, cheering, drawing, okay, or learning microblading and shading. It's a skill. So what you don't do whenever you're learning, say, to do handwriting, because this is a lot like learning handwriting, you don't just go up in front of a class, write a word in cursive, and tell the students to go ahead and write that word in cursive when they can't even ever write one letter in cursive. Remember how when you were learning cursive, they had the lines, the dotted lines where you could trace the letters so that you could practice how they're formed, get an idea for flow? Very, very important for microblading and microshading. I will put the links for the tools that I thought were most useful, that I used, that really prepared me for my work on latex. You're going to not just take your class and then go out and do people. No. What you're going to do is you're going to take your class, you'll probably do some live people models under supervision, then you're going to practice your strokes with pencil or Sharpie. Then you're going to get latex and you're going to practice with a blade and on latex where you don't need pigment. Then you're going to practice on latex with pigment. Then you might practice on fruits like bananas or tomatoes. Then you might move on to pigskin, or you might try real skin, which is silicone instead of latex. And then you might try another human being underneath supervision of somebody, another artist, or at least another cosmetologist who has an idea for the shape of brows or what they're supposed to look like, okay? You are not just going to take your class and go out there and start charging $500 for sets of eyebrows. No. What's more likely to happen is you're going to screw somebody up, like I did, because the class said I had to do 10 people in 6 weeks, mind you, to get my certification. Yeah, that wasn't very pretty, and I'm still paying for the removal for that. So, very expensive lesson about limitations and what you can't do. Even though you think you can, the problem when you leave a class is you won't know what you don't know. And that's why joining the Facebook groups are so important, because they will show things and discuss topics that you won't ever hear about in classes. For example, apparently there are pens that are not good to be used on human beings because they allow the blood to flow backwards back into the pen. So I have a $695 pen. I have a $410 pen. Both of them use proprietary cartridges, and both of them I cannot use on human beings because of the risk of giving someone AIDS or hepatitis or, God forbid, some other blood-borne illness, right? So I spent all that money on pens that I thought I was going to use that I can only use to practice with. Important thing number 4, if you're considering a career in permanent makeup, as I'm doing brows, but it would be applicable for lips or liner as well. Sanitation, 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 and sanitation. It's super important. Even in your classes, they'll go over to have your tray of your disposable stuff and your tray of your other stuff. Trust me when I tell you, it's like a learned thing. Like, you'll want to reach for your bottle of pigment when you run out of pigment, when you have your gloves on that have touched the open wound that may or may not have blood, and you're going to want to not follow sanitary procedure because it's a habit. It is so important to train yourself in operating in a sanitary way by not cross-contaminating product, putting it in cups, by having lots of gloves nearby you, by having the sink nearby you to wash your hands. I can tell you that I am a sanitary person, and I did, as I worked on my model number 7 in my basement all by myself, I actually had to do a removal on her because we did them too dark, which I was very proud of myself that I learned how to do removal. That's a whole other thing. I'll wait on that. Make sure you are familiar with hygiene and working hygienically for yourself, and also make sure you know how to tell your clients to be hygienic at home. Or they could get something called cellulitis, which is an infection, a really bad one. And it can go from their brows to their whole entire face, because my model number 7 had that happen. We don't know if it was something that she did, how she touched her face after touching her cat, or God forbid it's something I did. I really don't think it is. I tried very, very hard not to, but you just don't know unless you're 110% paying attention to everything that you're doing. So make sure that you can tell your client to do things like put a clean towel on their pillow when they sleep at night, every night, because your pillow has all kinds of yucky skin things like skin mites and stuff, and they can get in the wounds and they can cause problems. Make sure you tell your client not to touch their wounds because they are open wounds. So if you're, cooking dinner and you're obviously, if you're touching a lemon and you touch your brows, you'll know about it because it's going to sting and burn. But if you are touching your dog or your cat, or God forbid took the dog for a walk and scooped up some poop and then by accident touched your brows, you're looking for an infection. And that's going to be about a week of antibiotics, by the way, and possibly a steroid shot in the butt for your client. And when they call you complaining or send you pictures, you're going to feel like shit. So please make sure you understand sanitation, that you practice doing it properly, because to know what to do and to catch yourself doing something that oops is wrong, but oops, you needed ink, and what were you supposed to do? Make sure you do what you're supposed to do, and make sure your clients do what they're supposed to do. Nobody emphasizes this enough especially when they send you home to work alone in your basement. Thing number 5 that you need to know if you're going to consider a career or training in permanent makeup, be it for brows, lips, or liner. I'm just doing brows, and I'm telling you it's been 6 months of hell, which is why I am making these videos, because I'm a 30-year veteran teacher, and the way things are taught in this industry are barbaric. Yes, the artists know what they're doing, and they do fantastic brows, but when there's an absolute beginner who has never held a freaking microblade in her or his hand, you have to start at the bottom and do basic things first to work up to different skill levels. And in this industry, they just expect you to be able to whip out a pattern in a class after doing it like 5 times. And it's just not realistic. So make sure you look at the links below in my video where I talk about the books that you need to do so that you can learn how to practice strokes with pencils and Sharpies and stuff, so that when you do get to your class, you'll actually feel somewhat comfortable practicing some patterns that they're going to try to teach you. But what this important point is, I kind of rambled. Important point number 5, they will not teach you about removal. So basically, you're going to take a class where you're going to learn to, let's say, quote unquote, draw, but they don't give you an eraser. So basically, you're going to cut into people's faces and put in pigment, and you have to stay inside your lines, but you're a brand new beginner, and you don't even know that your left hand is different from your right hand, and how that's going to impact your whole ability to work on brows. That happened to me. You might put a stroke outside your mapping line. That also happened to me. And you're going to be screwed, because they're not going to teach you about removal. And learn, how about this? In the United States, removal is actually illegal for a permanent makeup artist to do in some states. How stupid is that? You are doing something on someone's face, and you're not allowed during the procedure to correct what you may have done wrong. Yeah, it's a thing. I'm talking about saline removal. Laser removal is a whole other story. You do have to be a certified laser tattoo removal person to do laser removal. But I'm talking about you're a brand new beginner lash brow person working on one of your models, and you accidentally go outside of your brow mapping line because maybe you erased your brow mapping line. You need to know how to fix that, and you're going to have to teach yourself. I'm going to put a name of a course down here in my comments, which I highly suggest you watch. So even though you may not be certified in removal, you need to know how to take a micro swab and a removal solution and try to get that pigment out of the line where you put it, so that you don't do something wrong on somebody. Because we can do saline removal within 48 to 72 hours. Also very important. If you screw somebody up, you will have between 48 and 72 hours to either send them to a saline removal specialist, or if you've trained yourself, try to do saline removal according to the course that you did take for removal, and possibly with your instructor's guidance as you're doing it. So my point is, they don't teach you how to remove things. Sometimes it's illegal for them to teach you to remove things. You're going to have to know how to remove things, because would you take a class learning how to draw if they never gave you an eraser, and yet you're expected to draw everything perfectly because this is on someone's face? Yeah, that's what's going on out there. They're teaching classes without removal, so if you make a mistake, you're screwed. My sixth and final thing that you need to know if you're going to consider a career in microblading or permanent makeup, I'm doing it for brows, but it could be for lips or liner as well. That is, it's actually really fun. Like, I really hope you like it, and I hope that my other videos and my other few points that I've made here don't scare you away. It's the opposite. I don't want you to be like so many people that I've seen so excited to take their class, and then they go and they try to work on people and realize that they can't, because they haven't had enough practice. They haven't had enough guided supervision. But as you master different skills, when you nail your first set of brows and they look super awesome, and your teacher tells you they look super awesome, it feels really good. When your clients tell you how happy they are that they don't have to draw their brows on in the morning, and I suppose lips and liner as well, there's just nothing like it. So it's very fulfilling. So don't be dissuaded from what I'm telling you. It's the opposite. I want you to set reasonable expectations. I want you to know that it's probably going to be between 6 months to a year before you do a person without supervision of some kind. Regardless what they tell you, you find your own supervisor. It could be a cosmetologist. It could be someone who microblades in your community. You might have to pay them $100 to watch you. Do not do people without supervision within the first year of your training, or you will mess them up, and then you won't want to do this anymore. Because let me tell you, nothing is worse than watching someone's brows. Nothing is worse than someone getting an infection. These things suck, and you're going to probably deal with them, even though I'm trying to help you not to. But there's a tremendous upside too. It's very rewarding, and if you can make it through some of these other stupid things that nobody ever tells you, you're probably really going to enjoy yourself. So I'm going to get back to my vacation here, and I didn't even bring my latex to practice my microblading, which I usually do, but I just needed a break because my last person I did, when we did the removal, she got cellulitis, and I just got so disgusted I needed a break. I have 3 more people to do. till I get my $3,800 piece of paper. And they're going to be supervised by my friend who's a cosmetologist, just because I need an extra pair of eyeballs. But I'm going to get back to my vacation, and I've vented enough here, but I really hope that this makes a difference for somebody, because I really wish I'd have seen a video like this, so I would have set realistic expectations for myself and not made some mistakes that I made that really sucked. All right, happy microblading, happy microshading. It really is fun, and it's nothing like making somebody feel more beautiful. Have a beautiful day yourself. Thanks for watching, and please, if you like this video, click the like button, and if you are interested in herbal videos, aesthetics videos, and following me on my journey to becoming a microblading artist, please subscribe to my channel. Have a wonderful day.